Hey there, I'm Dr. James Judge, and I want to welcome you to the Gut Reset experience. What you're about to watch isn't just another talk about digestion. It's a blueprint for how your body actually heals. We're going to uncover what's happening inside your gut on a deeper level, inside the microbiome, that invisible ecosystem of trillions of bacteria that literally run the show when it comes to your health, as you'll see. These microbes aren't just passengers. They are active partners that they help us digest food, extract our nutrients, regulate inflammation, balance our hormones, and even communicate directly with your brain through the gut-brain axis. When that system is healthy, your energy is up, your immune system is strong, your mood is balanced, and your digestion works the way it was supposed to. But when the microbiome breaks down, everything else follows. Things like fatigue, brain fog, bloating, anxiety, skin issues, and even chronic diseases. In this talk, we're going to discover and show you how to identify what's gone wrong and how to repair it naturally, how to retrain your body to work the way it was designed to. This is about understanding your body, not fighting it, and learning the exact steps to reset your gut, restore your balance, rebuild true health from the inside out. Let's dive in because, once you understand your microbiome, you'll never look at your health the same way again.
Hi everyone! How are y'all doing? You excited? I don't know if Dr. Kaylee just said it was hard to work with me. I don't think it's that difficult, Greta. I'm excited for us to be here today together. We're gonna go through some amazing transformational information about what this guy said 2,500 years ago, Hippocrates. And this was the father of medicine. Okay, so I want you to think about that. Back then, he didn't have these microscopes that we have today. He didn't have all the science and the resources to understand really what was going on. But he had one thing, and I want you all to say it with me: observation. Say it. He had the power of observation. And I want to sit there for a second because it's very powerful. And I don't think, because we have so much information today, that we really just sit back and look at what's going on. He said that all disease, say all disease begins in the gut. He opened people up after they passed away and he said, hey, there's a gut issue here with every single one of his patients that died from cancer, that died from diabetes, that died from heart issues. All disease begins in the gut. And 2,500 years later, thank God, science is starting to catch up to his wisdom. But the problem is we might be hearing things, but we're not listening. Okay, we don't listen. It's taking us 2,500 years and we're still behind the eight ball when it comes to understanding this and really taking control back. Right? So there's 70 million people today with some sort of gut issue. That's 1 out of 5 people in this room walking around with a gut issue and they have no idea that it's there. These silent little problems, and the problem is the actual fix. Okay, the problem is that we're taking medications and covering up symptoms rather than getting to the dysfunction that's causing the problem in the first place, right? And it's not just gut issues, it's every symptom in the body, whether it's high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And we would be wise to heed that warning for every disease. This is just autism. When I started practicing, it was 1 out of 34. Today, they say it's 1 out of 16 to 20 children are being diagnosed with autistic spectrum disorder. And if you look at that map, who's the worst? We are. We're the worst. Yeah, get a gold medal for that. If I were to superimpose another map with chronic degenerative disease on top of that, do you think it would be any different? No. So again, we go back to the power of observation and we see that something that we're doing here in America is causing something to be wrong with our health. Yes or yes? We lead the world in heart disease and cancer and diabetes. And again, there's got to be a cause, say cause, to that. The cause to that is, again, not getting to the actual cause of the problem. We're just covering symptoms up and telling our people that it's okay. We're injecting our children with 18 vaccinations by the time they're 6 years old. We're giving them medication after medication when they have fevers that God has given us, right? And the Tylenol thing, it's not political statement here today, but they've done research that, your child gets a vaccine, they spike a fever, they go to the medical doctor, they take a drug, and it actually destroys the body at the detoxification level, because it reduces glutathione that we'll talk about in a bit. But that glutathione is the master antioxidant in the body. So again, the reason we go to these medical doctors to get this vaccine is to spike what? Immunity. And then we get the fever that the immunity is trying to fix, and we give them a medication, and it's causing these issues. Okay, so we've got to, again, what? Observe. There's something wrong. And if we in this room do everything that everyone else is doing without doing something completely different, you're in that same boat. So my goal here today is to teach you that we're taking laxatives for going to the bathroom, we're taking antacids, and we've got this antacid market is supposed to reach $9 billion in profit by year 2030. Antacids. So that tells us two things. Number one, gut issues are exploding, no pun intended. And number two is that we're not fixing anything. We're taking pills and pushing them for profit, and we have to change that. So today, what we're going to do is dive deep into the gut anatomy and how it all functions, and we're going to break it down for you so you understand it, because if we can understand how the gut is supposed to function, we can understand how it's dysfunctioning and then work our way backwards to helping people function. And again, like this guy said, after observing that all disease begins in the gut. So go ahead and take your folders out and your pens. I highly recommend you take notes, because it's going to be like you're back in biology class and physiology class. There's going to be a lot of information. And if you just sit back passively, you're not going to retain as much as if you were actually writing things down. So we have this long, amazing tube, and I was just talking to a colleague of mine, and she described it like this. This tube, the first thing you should write down is 4,000 square feet in surface area. 4,000, okay? I'll let people get their papers out. So it's the second page. You've got your diagram there of the digestive system, so go ahead and take that out. 4,000 square feet of surface area, okay? In that tube contains what we call microbiome. A lot of people say, well, yeah, the microbiome's off. What does that mean? We're going to dissect that in detail today. There's 3 to 5 pounds of microbiome in your gut. Write that down. 3 to 5 pounds of microbiome in your gut, okay? This microbiome is responsible for many, many different things, okay? It breaks down our food, it metabolites different foods that we eat, and it creates certain things like serotonin. Do you guys know how much serotonin is produced by the metabolism of these bugs in our gut? 90%. So research for years, when I was even going to school, said that people that are depressed and anxious and bipolar have this chemical imbalance in the brain, while all the time it wasn't the brain, it was the actual metabolism of the gut bugs inside of us. That's fascinating for me. 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut. Okay? So if we got depression and anxiety, if we can't sleep properly, it goes all back to those neurotransmitters and production of hormones. It also contains 70% of our immune system. That's huge to understand, 70% of our immune system. And we're going to see how this immune system is very delicate, but it's also very smart, very intelligent, right? These cells know more in 1 second if it's exposed to a pathogen than any of us know how to kill it. So we want to increase the viability of the digestive system so it increases our immune system naturally. This is why one person can sit at a table and never get sick, and another person sitting at the same table, eating the same food, gets everything that comes around them. we have an imbalance somewhere in the body, and we're going to go through that in detail. So the stomach here, okay, this contains acid. Is that good or bad? It's very good. Think about what that stomach does. It's constantly regenerating your cells. So if I were to take this acid and pour it onto a carpet right there, it would burn a hole in the floor. So why isn't it burning a hole in our digestive system? Why isn't it burning through? Well, because it's very intelligent and it's rapidly regenerating itself. Regeneration is huge, okay? This acid is supposed to be 1 to 2, very acidic on that level, okay? 1 to 2, it's at the bottom. So what happens when we eat food, it starts to digest actually by the saliva and the chewing of that food. So we want to chew it as much as possible. It gets into the stomach and it starts to literally melt that food so we can extract the nutrients from it. That melting of the food, we call that chyme, C-H-Y-M-E. So the ability to melt it, basically, our food is hugely and very important to understanding the rest of the flow of this tube. But this colleague of mine said this tube is really still the outside of our bodies. If you think about it like that, it's kind of weird, but it is still the outside because there's a barrier between the blood and the gut, okay? So we eat the food, it goes through this tube, okay? We melt it, and it turns into chyme, C-H-Y-M-E, chyme, okay? That chyme should be the acidity level of 1.5 to 3.5. Very important to understand later in this talk. 1.5 to 3.5. What happens next? Once the chyme is at that acidity level, it opens this thing called the pyloric sphincter. Yeah, we're going to say some weird names here today. Everyone say it with me so I'm not sphincter. We okay with that? What is it? Sphincter. It's the sphincter between the stomach and the duodenum. Okay? The duodenum starts to alkalize the chyme, get it back up to a certain level, which that chyme turns into 6 to 7 level of alkalinity. It's more on the alkaline side than the acidic side. You guys following me? Okay? That level of acidity triggers other things to start happening. Triggers your bile from the gallbladder to be excreted into the small intestine, which is actually bigger surface area-wise than the large intestine. We call it the small intestine just because the diameter is smaller than the large intestine. But this is the only thing that the large intestine, has right here. So that chyme starts to pass through the duodenum, and it starts to trigger the gallbladder to produce bile, to excrete it out into the digestive system to emulsify fats. Bile also binds toxins. So our liver and gallbladder are very important. Yeah. I don't know why people, you think it's okay to start removing organs. It's very important. And if you don't have a gallbladder, we've got to make sure you are you're getting supported with that liver and gallbladder toxicity, which we'll talk about in a bit.
My wife was told she didn't need it.
Yeah, nobody needs it, right? Until they do, which is probably 10 to 15 years later when their entire body is toxic and their gut is a mess. What else did I say it happens? It triggers the pancreas, okay? Pancreas releases enzymes. What do enzymes do? Breaks down food, that chyme, even more, okay? And now this chyme starts to pass through this small intestine that has very large surface area. And on top of the gut, inside, there's these little microvilli, okay? Little fingers that start to actually absorb the nutrients that we eat, okay? You guys with me? So if that absorption doesn't happen, guess what? The vitamins, the minerals, the nutrients that we need to produce energy and hormones and all of these different things, it's impossible for it to get into the gut and for you to produce energy. Say energy. Energy, which is really the name of this entire game. So Again, we eat the food, it goes down into the stomach, it gets emulsified into chyme, and it goes into the duodenum. The duodenum raises the pH so it doesn't allow certain bacteria to live in the small intestine. Very important to understand. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth happens when their pH is too low. So the alkalinity is too high. It allows, when it's more acidic, it doesn't allow certain bugs to grow where they shouldn't. That make sense? Okay, we'll talk about that later. So there's 5 things that affect the dysfunction or the dysbiosis of the digestive system. Again, it's microbiome. There's trillions of cells, 3 to 5 pounds. There's actually more bugs living in our gut than make up our entire body, which is fascinating to me. All over our skin and inside of us, they help us live and thrive. So our diet, write this down, eat the rainbow. A cabbage is going to feed a different bug than a tomato. Okay, so we've got to make sure we eat different colored foods consistently. We're not eating the same foods. Dr. Kaylee has an amazing nutrition session after break. Birthing method, I know this sounds kind of weird, but when you go through the vaginal canal, you get exposed to different microbiome, different bugs, and they start to inoculate your skin, and then that starts to grow through the entire body. Sounds weird, but it's true. Also, mom usually defecates, and that stool gets onto the kid, and it starts to inoculate the child. So it's amazing. It's a much different experience than a cesarean section. So, the natural is always best unless an emergency situation. Always, okay? The next thing you'll see on there is antibiotics, and we give it to our population here in America like it's candy, any cough, sniffle, sneeze. It's like an atom bomb to the digestive system, okay? It doesn't just kill the bad bacteria, which there's no good or bad, there's just an imbalance. I want you guys to really, really understand that and listen, right? There's not good or bad, there's just an imbalance, say imbalance. So when we wipe it all out, like an atom bomb to the city, guess what happens? It starves certain things and things don't happen, okay? And then it's very important, if you have to be on antibiotics for an emergency, that you re-inoculate the biome, and we know exactly how to do that for you guys. Exercise and stress play a huge role in the motility of the gut, getting blood to it so it can actually absorb, getting it moving, right? Getting the chyme moving through the digestive system and absorbing the stuff that it needs and repelling the stuff it doesn't need. So stress is a huge thing. I said this in February when we did our makeover, that it literally, the thing about stress, it pumps this thing called cortisol into our bloodstream. Cortisol is great for us if we're being chased by a bear in the woods, but who's been chased by a bear lately in the woods? Okay, who's been feeling like they've been being chased by a bear in the woods, right? Constantly. We're stressed out, we're Americans, we live very rapid lifestyles. We're on this social media that it stresses me out just looking at it, but it pumps cortisol constantly through our blood. And, again, when our body physiology, back when we were hunter-gatherers and evolving, we didn't need the blood in our digestive system anymore, so it takes it out and puts it into our extremities so we can get the heck out of the way of the bear. So what does that do to the motility of the digestive system? Increase it or decrease it? Decreases it. It shuts it down. There's a thing called rest and digest. Rest and digest. I'm also going to put another R there, repair. The repair is heal. We can't heal when we're in fight or flight. It's impossible. Dr. Kaylee is also going to go through that in detail. So let's take out this next page, flip it over. Okay, this is the most important page of today. Most important page of today. Again, it's very scientific. I'm going to talk about a lot of words, but there's hopefully a way that I can break it down for you so you understand this in detail. On the left, there's the healthy microbiome. On the right, there is the unhealthy microbiome, okay? There's a huge difference, but actually it's not that huge of a difference. You can see at the top, there's 3 main hitters when it comes to a healthy microbiome. What does that mean? These bugs that are in us, there's 3 that are prevalent in a healthy microbiome, and I want you to write those down. Number 1 is Akkermansia. You can abbreviate it AKK. AKK. Number 1 is AKK. Number 2 is bifidobacterium. And number 3 is lactobacilli. So lacto and bifido. In a healthy gut microbiome, these 3 guys are very prevalent. That means that they take up most of the space, okay? Now, a couple of things happen when that chyme passes through the small intestine. What happens is these bacteria start to metabolize certain foods. And if these bacteria are not present, that metabolism does not happen. Okay? It's not just for our cells internally in our blood, but it's also for the cells of our actual digestive system. So if these 3 guys are present, you're going to increase mucus. So write that down, increase mucus, or you can circle it on the page, whatever you need to do. Circle that. That's huge. Increase the mucus. I know it sounds, I was talking to an online client on my telehealth stuff yesterday, and she goes, isn't mucus bad? Yeah, mucus in your respiratory system is it's not bad, but it's just a reaction to your body trying to get rid of something. Yes or yes? In the digestive system, it actually creates a barrier and allows for absorption to happen, this mucus membrane that's supposed to be there. Okay, so it increases short-chain fatty acid metabolism. Basically, that is the fuel for this mucus membrane. Okay, so who makes the short-chain fatty acids? Those 3 main hitters, Akkermansia, bifidobacteria, and lactobacilli. Who makes short-chain fatty acids? The bacteria. Make it easy. The bacteria makes the short-chain fatty acids. Okay? What do the short-chain fatty acids do? Feed the mucosal layer. Okay? You with me? First there's food, then there's chyme, then there's metabolism of the chyme by the bacteria. Okay? The bacteria is where it starts. The bacteria make short-chain fatty acids that feed the mucosal layer. The mucosal layer allows for that absorption to happen of the nutrients that we need, and then it gets to the epithelium, which is the skin in the gut. And the epithelium have these things called tight junctions. Say that with me, tight junctions. Tight junctions are huge. When we talk about leaky gut in a second, this is what's broken, the tight junctions. Okay? And I'll tell you why that happens in a bit. The tight junctions stop the passage of the bacteria and the undigested chyme and the fungus and whatever else living inside of your gut, getting into an area called the lamina propria, which is right here. This area here. That is where your immune system lives. Immune system, all it is a bunch of cells that are either inactive or reactive, okay? They're either inactive or reactive. And if you have a tight junction between those cells, they're not going to react unless triggered by a pathogen. You guys with me? Okay. We want to make sure that all of this is happening inside of your digestive system. Okay, the pathway towards disease. Okay? Number 1. These are new. My gosh. Number 1, decrease good bacteria. Decrease good bacteria. How do we decrease good bacteria? The slide before this, remember, there were 5 things. The exposure, the food that we eat, the exercise that we do, the birthing method, antibiotics, all of that will affect the good bacteria, okay? The second thing is decrease in mucus production. Okay, why? Because the bacteria are not there to metabolize the food for the mucus. This is very important, okay? Very important. The third thing is what? Decrease in tight junctions. Decrease in tight junctions. Why? Well, because that mucosal layer, again, this is the mucosal layer here, if you can see that green thing, that mucosal layer is feeding those cells, okay? And if those cells don't have food, they dry up like the Sahara Desert, and we expect it to work like a sponge when we haven't been feeding it what it needs for 20 to 30 years. So we wonder why we're so sick. Those tight junctions break apart, and then what starts to happen? Becomes permeable, okay? We call that leaky gut. Leaky gut. So the bacteria, the viruses, the lipopolysaccharides, fancy scientific term for bad things getting where they shouldn't be at. Now what happens is, number 5, it triggers the immune system. Triggers your immune system. So what kind of things happen because of that? Could be fever, could be that word he just said. What else? Eczema. Anything could happen. Autoimmune system, right? Basically, this is where the body starts to attack everything that comes around the entire body. So if we're exposed to pollen, we get allergies. If we're exposed to actually good food even, it gets into that area and it starts to react. So we think we're allergic to all of these foods. We do these blood tests for these foods that we're allergic to, but you wouldn't be allergic to the food if it was staying where it needs to be. Amen. So does it matter, if we do these allergen tests or not? No, what matters is what this guy said 2,500 years ago. We have to stop the what? The leaky gut. We have to feed the digestive system. We have to understand that all disease begins in the gut, and all disease begins with this one word right here, number 6, inflammation. We're going to do a fun little thing every time we say inflammation. So if you've got a clapper, get up with me and say inflammation. So yes, all disease begins in the gut, but all disease begins because you're inflamed. Why are you inflamed? Well, because you've got these particles that are getting into that area of the immune system where they're not supposed to be, triggering that immune system and causing systemic inflammation all over the place. So that's going to lead to autoimmune issues, right? Autoimmune issues. That's going to lead to skin issues. That's going to lead to depression. That's going to lead to anxiety. That's going to lead to sleep issues. All disease begins in the gut because of that. So if that's the map to disease, what is the map to health? Well, you have it. All you need to do is go backwards, right? Go back to where you came from. Okay, we have to figure out what is causing this inflammation. We have to go back to this immune system and understand that it never does anything wrong. It's never doing anything wrong. God did not create junk. Your immune system is very intelligent. You've just been destroying your digestive system for 50 years. We have to go back to this LG. What does that stand for? Leaky gut. Why? Why? Observe, right? With the power of observation. Why is my gut leaking? And taking medications for a leaky gut isn't going to fix the actual problem if you don't change your what? Your lifestyle that caused it. And then we get back to this. What does that stand for? Tight junctions, right? We want to tighten those things up so the bacteria doesn't get into where it doesn't need to be or isn't supposed to be. Then what does this stand for? Then we got to increase the mucus production. And how do we do that? We have to make sure that the gut bacteria is in balance. Say balance. I like that word too, balance. Okay? We have to be in balance, because if it's not in balance, and inflammation is surrounding the cell of your body. Remember, all we are is a bunch of amazing cells. Sperm, egg, came together, boom, life. How did that happen? I don't know, and I'm not going to explain it to you, but it did. Okay, and that one cell turned into 35 trillion cells later. And that's you looking at me with eyeballs and hair and a heart beating and lungs breathing and stomach digesting food. Amazing. Yet we want to put more faith into a laxative or an antacid than the own power that made us. So we have to get back to, again, understanding the cell function. If there's chronic inflammation surrounding the cell, it destroys the lipid bilayer. What is that? That's the two layers. You guys have a cell diagram there, so if you want to change your paper to that area as well, you have all of this. Again, the cell function. There's a lipid bilayer. Here it is, the membrane. Okay? On each and every single cell, absorbs just like the mucous membrane of the gut. We have all of these membranes all over the place, and they're made of fat. Fat absorbs toxins as well. Make sure you realize and understand that, because it's very important to understand. They absorb the toxins. They also keep the toxins around the cell, and the inflammation prevents the receptor sites from accepting vitamins. Very important vitamins, vitamin B12, iodine, zinc, different things that we absorb through the chyme, okay? Even if we do absorb it and we have chronic inflammation, it can't get into the cell. It's impossible because those receptor sites aren't there. So what happens now? Well, the mitochondria suffers because it doesn't have the equipment that it needs to make energy. The equipment being vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. Okay. Also, even if you have good, like these people go to get their hormones tested, especially women, they have good hormone levels, yet they feel like junk, they're losing their hair, they have fatigue, they have brain fog. And the reason is because it's not the production of a hormone problem, it's the absorption problem. The absorption into the cell problem. I would say that you're more estrogen dominant than not because of the absorption issue, which we'll talk about in more detail. So this is huge, because if you can't get good things in and you can't get the bad things out, it becomes super toxic. The cell becomes toxic. And that's where disease begins. Because if the cell starts to replicate abnormally because it's full of junk, it's full of crap, right? It can't methylate, it can't get it out, the DNA becomes damaged. And what is the precursor to that? That's the precursor to cancer. Okay, it also creates a cytokine storm. So these allergies that we have, it's because, again, the function of the cell is not working properly. So again, the first thing is fix the gut. The second thing is make sure the cells are functioning properly, absorbing nutrients, methylating, and replicating like they should. Okay? So, questions? A lot of information there. Good. So these are the symptoms of a digestive system that has gone haywire, right? There's you don't have to go react anymore when I say inflammation. I say it a lot. So fatigue, bloating, weight changes, sleep problems, mood swings, food sensitivity, skin issues, brain fog. It's all really linked. There's a common thread, again, back to the gut. So if you've got brain fog, why? Why do you think that is? The digestive system has shut down, okay? Some people tell me that they constantly feel like they're hungover. They forget names. They forget where they put their keys. Their brain isn't firing like it used to. That's just a telltale sign that the toxicity in the digestive system is backing up and it's spitting these toxins into the blood, creating chronic inflammation. Chronic fatigue, you don't have to do that anymore. Chronic fatigue. Chronic fatigue, because again, if you're not producing energy, again, you're not healing properly. You're waking up feeling more exhausted than when you went to bed. Anxiety and depression, we'll go through that. You know, again, serotonin and all of these neurotransmitters that are created in the digestive system are directly correlated to that. Skin issues like eczema, rosacea, drier and inflamed skin. Taking meds for that is just robbing Peter to pay Paul. Again, there's this underlying dysfunction, which is what? The inflammation that's causing your skin to react like that. And we'll go through that in more detail. Hormonal imbalances, sinus and allergy issues, and joint pain. Okay, so let's talk about brain fog. You know, clarity is linked to the gut. In your development, right, there was this tube called the neural tube. Okay, that was the first thing to form. That neural tube broke off and it became the brain, and then it became the gut. So I have this theory that if the gut's on fire, the brain is always on fire because of the neurotransmitters that aren't being developed and created. And again, the toxicity that we're carrying around, feeling like we're hungover all the time or slightly just behind the 8 ball. So we want to make sure, again, that connection is understood. If I put a picture of the brain and the gut next to each other, they look almost exactly the same. But we give so much credit to the brain controlling everything, which it does. It's the primary. The gut is the second brain. That gut is your second brain. There's so many neurons, 500 billion neurons in the digestive system, and we're just finally waking up to all of the things that it does. Okay, but if it's chronically inflamed, it can't communicate back to the brain like it should. Tired even after you sleep. Who's there? Yeah, they wake up, they feel tired. Again, it's because of the energy production, which I just talked about. You can't absorb the nutrients to get into the cell to produce the energy that you need for mitochondria. The mood starts in the gut. And when I talk about mood, it's the bipolar diseases, it's the anxiety, it's the depression. And you know, I was in chiropractic college, and we have these discussions and debates about why people are still on these medications when we're not transforming them from the inside out. And it's because we've been told a lie through generations. I told you in the beginning of this, 90% of serotonin's in your gut. And if you're taking artificial hormones to be happy, you've really got to look to the gut, because it's not about getting rid of the depression. It's about what else is happening on the inside of your body that medication might be also covering up. Does that make sense? So again, getting to the cause of the problem is where the answers are. Your gut microbes make neurotransmitters. I went through this. Affect serotonin, dopamine, anxiety, depression, brain fog. This is a huge slide. Okay, so if you have a phone, please take a picture of this.
Hey, Doc.
I want that picture, by the way. Someone send it to me. 815-252. Just kidding. Look at these words, right? Serotonin, 5-HT, is created by what? Strep, E. coli, and Candida. Okay, so are those bacteria good or bad? They're very good. But what happens with certain guts, they become imbalanced, and those guys start to take over. We don't need a plethora of them. We just need a certain amount to help us create these neurotransmitters. Okay, but if we have too many, that's what creates the inflammation. Calm down. The inflammation in the gut. Okay, so again, it's all about the balance, because we do need these species of bacteria to create our serotonin, our dopamine, our GABA, our acetylcholine. They do so many different things for us naturally from the inside out. Okay, so the big picture here, write these 3 things down. The diversity matters when it comes to gut bacteria. The different species that live within us matter. Okay, the balance of those things matter, the amount of them. Highly important to understand when it comes to understanding disease. And fuel of these gut bugs matter, okay? Not just the fuel that they make, but the fuel that we eat to help them make fuel for the rest of our body. That is the big picture, okay? And if we understand this, we understand how, again, to get back to digesting our food properly, absorbing the nutrients properly, keeping those bad things away from the immune system, and keeping inflammation at its bay, okay? And it all starts with you, your lifestyle. And the best gift that I can give anybody here today is that you take control back of your health. You know, we make up 5% of the world's population. We go back to that diagram there, that map, and that deep red there. It's because, again, we've been told a lie. And I want you all to take control. I want you to become your own doctor. And if you understand this, and again, what Dr. Kaylee is going to go through at the end, 2 things, nerve system function and gut function, you will be the best doctor in the world. because you're working with the best doctor in the world, which is your body. It's not me. I'm just here to give you the message that's been told for thousands of years. Okay? So you're welcome. Skin is a reflection. Skin, it's our largest organ. Okay? It helps us. It detoxes us as well. Things get out through the skin. So if we've got these guys inside of our blood that aren't supposed to be there, these bugs, right? They're constantly trying to get out. So eczema is actually a good reaction. Psoriasis is actually a good reaction. The problem is we're continuing to fuel the fire with the lifestyle and the things that we put into our digestive system to break it down. Putting cream on and taking medication isn't getting to the problem, just like taking an antacid. Hormones are not to blame, okay? Again, your mood swings and everything else that goes along with it. PMS, like I'm not a female, but there's some women that have horrible menstrual cycles when it comes to headaches and different things. And it's because, again, they're recycling hormones because their digestive system has shut down. And it leads to a lot of different things, PCOS, fibroids, all of these things that happen because of the hormones running around our body. There's 2 phases of liver detoxification in everybody, okay? The bile is very important here because it first binds toxins and then puts it into the phase 2 liver detoxification. And if you don't have bile, or if your gallbladder's been removed, it's not doing that and it's spitting it back out into the blood. Okay, so again, that's why I said at the beginning of this, it's very important to understand that pathway there. Liver, gallbladder, pancreas, it all matters. Okay, so the more toxins that we put into our system, the more that these things have to work overtime to get rid of those toxins. And again, I'm not gonna step on Dr. Kaylee's toes, but the more organic that we eat, the less processed food that we eat, the less inflammation happens, but more importantly, the more nutrients that are absorbed and the less our body has to work to get rid of the bad things. Allergies are actually just an overreaction. Say overreaction. And again, overreaction, why? Well, because your immune system's triggered. So everything that comes into our environment is triggered. So if we reduce all of that which we just talked about backwards, right, allergies go away. We wonder why these kids have these peanut allergies all the time. Well, again, we've been injecting these kids with all of these vaccines and giving them medications. And they go to the doctor and they take these antibiotics. And mom might have been on an antibiotic during her birth, right, during the pregnancy. And it destroys the microbiome. But again, it's all about the bugs that live in the kid and the ability for that kid also to have tight junctions and making sure that there's nothing leaking through. Okay, and we look at autistic kids, and I've done the research, a lot of research about this, and there's always a gut component when it comes to issues with autistic kids. Always. Something was destroyed in that development. Sometimes kids, they're completely fine till age 2, they get their vaccine, and then boom, something has happened. Okay, and this is not me saying never take a vaccine. This is just me saying I'm educating you so you can educate your family, okay, and understand that there is a link. Again, observe. Duh. Okay, we look at Americans, there's a link. I don't care what side of the aisle politically that you're on. I don't care about Donald Trump saying don't take Tylenol. We've been saying this for 20 years here in this community. There is a link. And you would do well to heed those warnings and do the research on your own. Because it all goes back again to this detoxification process. And it all begins in the gut. Joint pain. I was telling this to my team, and it's pretty fascinating that, again, our bodies are so smart that it takes harmful things and puts it in places that it shouldn't be. You look at gout, okay, what is the toe that is usually involved with gout? Yeah, the big toe. Why? Have you ever asked why? Why doesn't it go to our elbow? Why doesn't it go to our eyeball? Why doesn't it go to our heart? Well, if it was in our heart, those crystals would cause damage, okay? But if it's in our big toe, because we've been eating too much meat, red wine, and cheese, it's not gonna kill us. It's just gonna hurt us for a bit, okay? Your big toe can handle it. But again, back to the detoxification process, red wine, meat, and cheese, you're eating too much. The king's diet, okay? But the body's smart. It takes it away from the things that could be harmed and puts it into joints. And when we go to the other joints, right, our fingers, our elbows, when it takes us 10 minutes to get moving in the morning, that means that you've got toxicity running through your entire body, and inflammation is associated with that. So we look at arthritis, right, rheumatoid arthritis, and all of these different diseases, autoimmune diseases. It's because your body is responding to what you're doing to it through that tube that is supposed to be helping you function properly. Duh. You know, this is why we see such great results when we take the people that are consuming a lot of sugar, they're consuming bad fats, they're consuming processed foods that inflame the digestive system, and things start to actually go away. It's not about the rheumatoid pills, it's about getting the gut functioning and doing what it needs to do. Again, I think I hit this home, yeah? The gut health affects every function in the entire body. Your gut talks to your brain. I illustrated that in a bit, and the fix is the problem. We've been told generational lies, you know, and the most amazing thing about growing up in a chiropractic family for 100 years, it's not that long actually compared to what he's been doing for 2,500 years, but it's challenged us to think differently. It's challenged us to view health completely differently. It's challenged us to say, hey, there's a cause to this problem, and we don't want to be in the same pool that everybody else is in, so let's do things differently.
Is it hard with the message so much that?
Of course, especially with the skeptical people that are out there. The skepticism should be in what you're doing now that's not working. And why do we keep going back to the Bible, the dog and the vomit? Why do we keep going back to that? Well, it's because you're not equipped with the information necessary to take control back of your health. That's why it's hard. Because it's been a lie that's been touted for so long and so loud that everyone's beginning to believe it and have believed it for centuries. But the more you suppress symptoms, the more these things grow. We take Ozempic, for example. People are losing weight left or right. If anybody's on this, I am not throwing you under the bus or condoning you, or this is just an example, right? The way to do this is not Ozempic. Because what happens is it shuts the absorption down. Those little microvilli, those fingers that are absorbing our food, it shuts that process down. We can't absorb the nutrients into the gut. You don't just lose fat, but it stops the production of new bones. It stops the productions of your muscles. So those people that are walking around very frail looking after Ozempic for 3 or 4 or 5 months, it's because nutrients are not being absorbed and you're not regenerating tissues. The number one, write this down, the number one determining factor of how healthy we are later in life, beyond 70, is the strength of our bones and muscles. So yeah, at 45, when you're 40 pounds overweight, you might lose it, but you're destroying the structure that's going to bring you health and life later. That's the proverbial robbing Peter to pay Paul. So again, it's lifestyle. Say lifestyle. It's lifestyle change that we really have to honor and understand. SIBO, I talked about the acid in our stomach and how important acid, say acid, acid is. And when we take antacids, it's because we believe that we are acid dominant. There's too much. And again, when I talked about the chyme going into the pyloric sphincter, what acidity level, do you guys remember from about an hour ago? What acidity level? 3.5, and it triggers the pyloric sphincter to open, and it shoves the chyme into the duodenum. Yes, you guys remember? Okay, it's not been that long. Now, if the acidity level is too low, right? If the chyme is, let's say, 4.5 to 5, what happens? Nothing. It sits in the stomach, okay? It doesn't open the pyloric sphincter, and when it does open, that acidity level is allowing, it's more pH, it's allowing bacteria to grow in places where it should not grow. There is no bacteria in your stomach, it's too acidic, okay? If it's not acidic enough in the small intestine, bacteria start to metabolize and make things where it shouldn't be making things. And that's when we start to bloat. That's where we feel 6 months pregnant after even we eat a salad, because the metabolism is letting off majority of people, methane gas. You burp when you wake up in the morning a lot. You're burping, okay? You get off an airplane and your legs are bloated, your fingers are bloated. It's because the methane gas is building up in our bodies over that flight. So small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, there really shouldn't be any bacteria in the small intestine at all. And again, it all comes back to acid. Say acid. The acid levels. So with my patients that have issues with GERD and acid reflux, I tell them actually take a shot of apple cider vinegar and increase the acid, not decrease it. So yes, I said in the beginning also that the antacid market is reaching $9 billion in profit, and they're actually making people worse. They're making the problem worse because they're lowering the acidity level when it's already too low. It shuts everything down.
Why does everything come up your throat though when you have?
Because the pyloric sphincter is closed. So all of that's coming through when it should be going down. So it's stuck. So yeah, it's going to help the symptom, right? It's going to reduce what you have in there.
Cider would drive it through.
Apple cider will help to increase the acidity and open the pyloric sphincter. And you should be taking the acid before each meal. So take a shot, or they have pills now that you can take, and different things like betaine HCl. IBS and IBD are labels, they're not solutions, right? I've got so many clients that I'm on telehealth video conferences with that say, yeah, my doctor just diagnosed me with IBS. I've got this IBD. They do these colonoscopies. They find the polyps. They find these different things, yet there's no solution. You just have to live with it. IBS and IBD, listen to this. They are the same. Okay? They're just named differently. So what is the common thread, guys?
The IB.
Everyone say it with me. Inflammation. Say it louder. Inflammation. Yeah, you take the digestive system and you track it. The diverticulitis, the itis, is inflammation. Colitis is inflammation, right? We've got the Crohn's disease. It's just inflammation at a different area of the digestive system. Even ulcers, they're inflammation. It's all that. What's causing the inflammation? Well, it's not a lack of drugs. It's usually your lifestyle. But that's the hardest thing right there, is telling people, right? You might be listening, but are you really listening?
We have control.
You have the control. It's not me telling people, it's you listening to that. Because again, what is the fix? It's not Dr. James or Dr. Kaylee, it's you, it's your lifestyle. Write this down, 95% of all disease is due to lifestyle. Are we listening? So if I say that 95% of all disease is due to lifestyle, what is our lifestyle causing?
Disease.
Disease in the gut. You fix that up and disease starts to reverse. So it's not the gluten, it's what the gluten did. Okay, I can go to Italy and eat a pizza. Don't do it regularly, I've only been there once, but it didn't inflame me like the regular pizza that I do very rarely does here. Why? Well, there's one thing on our gluten here that's not in Italy, and that's called glyphosate. Write that down, glyphosate. Glyphosate, it's the weed killer Roundup.
Is it the folic acid or is it different?
It's different. Glyphosate is the weed killer Roundup. Glyphosate, Glyphosate. Glyphosate increases the permeability, which is what? Leaky gut by 50%. So this is why Dr. Kaylee is going to go through why you should be eating clean, why you should be getting organic foods, why you should know what the clean 15 are and the dirty dozen are, because every time you put glyphosate into your digestive system, it increases the permeability, which goes back to the inflammation in the digestive system. It's not the actual grain, it's what we're doing to the grain. And again, most people can handle gluten, but it's the damage that's already been in the gut causing the reaction to the gluten. Are you guys following me? Okay, so how do we see this? How do we fix it? And I always say test, don't guess. We have had booths up with the testing that we've done in the office for months. And this is the most intricate test that we can do. I believe that the Genova diagnostic testing is going to be the future blood test. Stool test, yeah, crap, poop. Because it shows us a lot of things, okay? We're gonna, 5 main things that we look for. Write these down. Maldigestion. Maldigestion. What does that mean? That means if we're breaking down our macronutrients, your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. So they literally take your stool, they put it under a microscope, and they look for protein, fats, and carbohydrates. That's the first step. Because if we're not breaking down proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, guess what? We're not getting the nutrients into the cell at its source. So you might as well just not eat. You with me? Also, it's looking for infection, okay? Most of the time, the infection is there because of the imbalance in the bacteria. Infection, what do I mean? Parasites, fungus, potential pathogenic bacteria that are overgrowing because, again, we have these bacteria in us all the time. There's just too much. We'll also look for metabolite imbalance. So the metabolites, we're looking for 2 of them, short-chain fatty acids and butyrate. Short-chain fatty acids and butyrate. So we go back to the beginning. Let's see if you guys were paying attention. What do short-chain fatty acids feed? The mucus, right? So if I see under a microscope that you don't have a lot of short-chain fatty acids, do you have a good mucosal layer? No. So what do we need to do, patients? Increase the production of the short-chain fatty acids by, again, going back to the beginning, increasing the amount of things, the bugs, that create the short-chain fatty acids. SCFAs for short, they're metabolized by fiber. So the first thing is to do, make sure we're eating more fiber in our diets. You should be eating 20 to 30 grams of fiber per day to feed the mucosal layer. Dysbiosis, again, that's a fancy term for the imbalance. The teeter-totter is too much or too little, which we'll go through in detail in a bit. And inflammation. Inflammation. There's key triggers that are thrown off when the mucosal layer and the skin in our gut is inflamed, which I'll show you in a second. You guys ready to go through some doctor stuff? Cool. Okay, so this is Lisa. She's 50 years old. She's got GI problems, high cholesterol, low energy, thyroid issues, weight loss resistance, and acid reflux. So now let's go through Lisa's plan of attack with her Western medical doctor. What are they giving her?
Medication.
What? Synthetic hormones. What else? Statins. What else?
Acid reflux.
Acid reflux medications. What else? You know, she's on like 7 or 8 different medications at 50. Thyroid meds, so synthetic hormones. She's not on Ozempic yet. All of it, right? So again, is any of that which I just said fixing anything? No. So duh. Why do we do this? Well, because this guy in a coat or girl in a coat said, take this, you've got this. Yes? They're so good. But at the end of the commercial, it says all of these negative things that no one wants to listen to. Just let me lose 25 pounds in cholesterol. Make it good, please, doctor. Okay, here you go. But we see here that there's a couple of things that are red flags, okay? This is not the diagram in there, and that's at the end. So don't follow along yet with the packet that you have there, okay? This is a precursor so you can become the doctor in 2 slides from now after I've showed you how to do this, okay? The pancreatic elastase is decreased. Okay, so what's the problem there? Not enough enzymes. Okay, what do enzymes do? Break down the foods, okay? We've got bacterial yeast increasing. Is that good or bad? The SCFAs and butyrate are decreased. So what does that mean? It's not metabolizing food for the mucosal layer. And then potential bacterial yeast is increased there, okay? So let's look at this. This is a healthy cohort, which means a healthy patient. Okay, you're either too much or too little. So she's there, okay, 50 years old. Her inflammation dysbiosis score is here, okay? We want to pull it down to the green. I don't want any inflammation in the digestive system at all. Methane dysbiosis score. This means if there's SIBO present, methane gas will be present in the stool. So does she have SIBO? No, okay? Anything above 7, SIBO is present. So write that down because I'm gonna test you in a second. We actually want everybody in zone 1, but we wanna pull them all the way to the left side corner here down on the left. Zone 1 is where we wanna be. Zone 2, telltale SIBO. Zone 3 and 4, potential pathogenic bacterial overgrowth. So again, we look at this stuff under a microscope, okay? And we see how much good bacteria that this person has or does not have, okay? So healthy is here. This is where she's at with 3 of the good guys. So is she overgrown? No, she's undergrown. She doesn't have enough of the good guys. Okay, a couple of things here. Again, the elastase, the pancreatic elastase, which is the enzyme, is too low. I want to pull it all the way up here. And calprotectin looks good. Calprotectin is released by eosinophils in your gut, which basically is your immune system. So if that's high, that means your immune system is overactive, and we see that in a lot of cancer patients. Okay, this is the fecal secretory IgA. It's a bit low here, or sorry, it's creeping up. I want to pull it all the way down to the green, but anything in the yellow or red, high inflammation is there. Her issue, guys, is again, mainly just she doesn't have enough short chain fatty acids. She doesn't have enough butyrate concentration. So the fuel for the mucosa is not there to make it happen. Okay, and then everything kind of breaks down beyond that. A lot of information at once, okay? A lot of people that have too much bacteria will be in the red here. You can see here the below detectable levels. That's what that means, okay? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Almost all of her bacteria are below detectable levels, all of it. So what do you think happened to this person? She took multiple rounds of antibiotics throughout her years, destroying her gut bacteria and never re-inoculating it through her years. So she wonders why she has all of those problems later on in life. She does, because the good bacteria is not present, she does have overgrowth, Klebsiella pneumonia. There's too much. We want to see these 4+ down into the 1. That's where the healthiest gut patients that I see live, meaning that these bad bacteria potentially are only in the 1+, not creeping up past 2, 3, 4. So what we put our patients through are, I call them the milestones of Balance the Biome. It's a sequence. Say sequence. Sequence, okay? If I give a SIBO patient bacteria, is that good or bad? Bad. They have too much. This person does need good bacteria, okay? But we have to remove the bad guys first, or else she'll still have that chronic inflammation that's in her digestive system, and the gut bacteria can't stick to the wall where we want it and digest the food. So we'll remove it, and we use 3 ingredients to do that. I'll talk about that in a second. Then we repair. Say repair. We want to patch those tight junctions and fix the walls of the digestive system so the leakiness doesn't happen. 3 main ingredients we use for that. And then replace and re-inoculate. Agnes, different patient, she's 70, she's got achy joints, constipation, low energy, and acid reflux. And she is a firecracker, let me tell you. She's not a happy camper, okay? But I wouldn't be happy if I were Agnes either, okay? We can see here, she's got low beta glucuronidase, and when I see low beta glucuronidase, that means liver function is low, and she's not getting the toxins out of her body, so she feels like hungover every day. Reference variance, okay, this dysbiosis score is too high, and for Agnes, we saw that she's very low as well. She's in zone 1 as well. She does not have SIBO, but also, again, below detectable levels. All of this stuff is way too low. So again, she's not feeding her gut microbiome. She's not absorbing the nutrients. I did not find any potential pathogenic bacteria. So do we need to remove anything? No. So does each patient need to go through every 4R? No, okay? Because sometimes, you just need to skip to the repair. The repair and the replace the digestive support. So we want to repair the damage to the gut and then re-inoculate the biome. And then keep her there for the rest of her life. Okay, this is the 39-year-old female, weight loss resistance, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and GI problems. Okay, so this is the worst of the three, and she's the youngest of the three. We've got inflammation and dysbiosis off the charts. Pay attention here, okay? Everyone take a deep breath. I know, I'm almost done. Take a deep breath. Take another deep breath. Because this is super important to understand, okay? A couple of things that we find is that she's overgrown. Everyone say overgrown. She's got too much bad bacteria. She's also got a methane dysbiosis score of 7. So what does she have? SIBO, say SIBO. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, okay? She's in zone 2, which is SIBO, okay? Telltale signs of SIBO, very important. She's in the red in some of them, but a lot are still undetectable, very low, good guys, up, bad guys, okay? One thing that I find here is the elastase is good. She's breaking down all of her proteins, fats, and carbs, but this calprotectin, and this is the sheet that you guys have, so circle the calprotectin. It's the third sheet in. Is in the red. So what did I say about calprotectin earlier? What did I say about that? So again, this patient's got weight loss resistance, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, GI problems. Calprotectin is a protein that's released by your immune system cells when there's a threat present. So she's also got diagnosed with breast cancer at 39 years old. So when I say all disease begins in the gut, these signs, that 10 and 10 that you saw when you first saw her test, they have been increasing for many years without her knowledge. Okay, she's been getting the blood tests and all of these different things, and now she's got to deal with this thing called cancer. And again, it all gets back to the cell. But you can also see in her stool test, there's 2 bad guys, Citrobacter and Klebsiella pneumonia. Okay, we have to run her through the 4R. Part of the 4R, we have 3 ingredients that kill the good or the bad guys and keep the good guys. So again, the Citrobacter here is the potential pathogenic bacteria that's causing the inflammation, is killed by berberine, oregano, and uva ursi. Berberine, oregano, and uva ursi. 3 main ingredients that we use in our products that we've developed to kill the bad guys while keeping the good guys around, okay? So we're not gonna give you the antibiotic that most doctors will give you because you've got SIBO and these bad guys around. We wanna keep the good guys while killing the bad guys. And also, Klebsiella pneumonia are killed by those 3 ingredients as well. Super awesome to really understand that this is actually working. I'm gonna put you on a protocol that's gonna kill the bad guys, and then we'll start to run you through, again, removal, repair, replace, and then re-inoculate. Okay, so testing, what does that do? Yes, it's an investment, okay? But it also helps guide your future, right? If I were to sit that patient M down here today, I use her first letter of her first name just because, you know, if she sat here 10 years ago, we did a test and she started to transform her lifestyle, she wouldn't be in the position she is today. So how much do you think that would be worth to her? You know, to me, it's priceless. You know, if I had someone standing in, standing here talking to my mother 15 years ago, talking to her about her digestive issues, and this is why, you know, we're so nerdy about the gut, is because what she's had to go through for the past 10 years. You know, so, and it all started with the gut and skin issues and these signs that were there that I didn't know about because no one ever taught me, and she's developed issues over time, you know. So again, testing guides the healing process. We don't give a cookie cutter protocol to every person. We make sure we do a test, we see what's wrong, and we support the things that need to be supported in your lifestyle. And this is what happens.
Okay, Marlene, so what made you reach out to me in the first place to get some questions answered?
I reached out to you because I had been dealing with rosacea, with acne, for years, and I tried everything and nothing was working for me.
Yeah, so what kind of things did you try?
Oh gosh, I did my own research online, and I got probiotics. I purchased like some GI powders, and I would drink that, and nothing was helping me. I actually felt like it was making things worse.
Yeah. So Marlene reached out and we got on a consult and I said, hey, you need to really get your microbiome tested. And a lot of people don't realize the importance of the microbiome. There's 5 to 6 pounds of bacteria that need to be in a delicate balance inside of our gut. It's responsible for 70% of our immune system, 90% of our serotonin, and hormones and neurotransmitters are produced from the gut. And also, if there's leakiness in the gut, it's going to cause these bacterial cells and even undigested food particles to leach out into the bloodstream. And that's when we start to see these particles come out through the skin. And a lot of people can't connect those dots, you know. So back to my mom's story, she had welts all over her skin, cellulitis, and it was all coming from the gut. And that's why I do what I do now, to help people before it becomes a huge issue. So we got on the call and we went through exactly what the testing does. I sent a test to your house.
Correct.
You did the test, you sent it back to the lab, and then we got back on a phone call, and what did we find?
We found that I had an overgrowth in bad bacteria in my gut, and we needed to balance that out.
Yeah, we also found that there was some inflammation in the digestive system, so leakiness, and that is what was contributing to her acne for years. So I see it all the time. Hey, I need to take this supplement or this probiotic, or I've got this magic process that I researched on the internet, yet if we don't have solid evidence and a test to go off of, you really are going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction sometimes. So that's why I test all of my patients, so I can develop an individual protocol specifically designed for your healing process, not just throw a bunch of random supplements at you and expect you to heal. So you're 2 months in, and what progress have you seen so far?
I have seen a dramatic change in my skin. I mean, I wouldn't go out. I was very antisocial. I didn't even want to go to my gym. The redness and the inflammation in my skin has completely gone down. It's like a whole 360.
That's amazing. How's your energy and sleep?
Great.
Good.
So much better.
Good. So yeah, things changed rapidly.
Yes.
You know, Hippocrates said that all disease begins in the gut, and if we don't heal that first, nothing else is going to change. It's responsible for digesting our food particles, getting the nutrients into our bloodstream so your cells can utilize them to produce energy. And if your cells can't produce energy because it lacks those things, because your gut is a mess, then you are a mess as well. You're only as healthy as your cell function. So I'm excited that you're only 2 months in. I can't wait to see what's next for you. There's about 3 months more of the healing process, and then she goes on to a maintenance phase. But thank you for being here today and walking through people that may have the same issues out there, and they're wondering what to do.
So for her, like, vanity was an issue, like most people, right? She had these welts on her skin. She wanted to get rid of them, and I don't really think she even realizes what the red flags were there. Okay, so yes, we helped her with her skin. That's what she was majorly concerned about. But what else was happening on the inside? And again, you go back to that patient M, if she was in that same position, if she had these triggers that she got rid of, would she be where she's at today? So the investment, again, I believe that everybody here should do a test once a year, because our digestive system changes rapidly. You think about 2 months of healing and she's already got reversal of all of that. Well, how did that happen? Well, it's because the walls of the gut, literally change so fast. And again, it can happen. Once we remove the bad guys and allow things to become absorbed again, life comes back to you. You might be sitting here thinking, well, I don't have any of these digestive issues. Well, there's triggers that you might not connect the dots with that we can uncover before the real problem happens. And I think Hippocrates said that all disease begins I think he said that, right? Did he say that? But who said that if we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, we're insane? Einstein said that. And when we're in the medical Western, world, we're doing the same thing over and over. It's time to break free from that. So again, thank you guys so much. And Dr. Kaylee is going to have an amazing session right after this.
Hey, thank you for watching the Gut Reset Talk. I hope this gave you a deeper understanding of how powerful your digestive system truly is and how much influence it has on every part of your health. Because once you realize that your gut bacteria and your microbiome control everything from digestion to hormones, immunity, inflammation, and even your mood, it really becomes clear that if you don't heal your gut, you can't heal the body. What we covered today was just the beginning. For many people, the next step is uncovering exactly what's happening inside their own microbiome, which bacteria are thriving, which ones are missing, and what is really driving inflammation and any symptoms you might have. That's why I use the advanced functional testing that you saw in the video. It gives us a deeper understanding and data to finally stop guessing and start healing with precision. And because you took that time to invest in yourself today by watching this talk, you can use the code RESET at checkout for an exclusive 20% off your advanced testing package. Remember that your gut isn't the problem, it's the pathway. When you restore balance to the microbiome, you and your entire body begins to heal from the inside out. I'm Dr. James Judge, and thank you for being here. Thank you for taking health seriously today. And I can't wait for you to take the next step toward real health and real healing. See you soon.